Here we are, spawning in the bottom left in the blue, the little corporal for T-Liquid. He is CLEM. And his opponent in the upper right in the red for Team Clash, the world champion, Italian Stallion. He is REYNOR. And of course, we do have CLEM. It's REYNOR. That much is known. The result of these 3, 4, 5 games. Yeah, we don't know that one yet, although we do know that it is going to be fantastic. CLEM and REYNOR have pretty much been meeting up in every single ESL Open Cup finals for the most recent little bit of time, as ESL Open Cups mean something again. They now are assigning EPT points once again, and with that being said, well, it matters a whole lot more to these players. Gone are the days, well, honestly, they didn't last that long, but gone are the days where you just, honestly, getting top 4 was not as much of a feat as it previously was, especially in some of the smaller regions like North America, because, well, they are worth points. They allow you to get closer and closer to qualifying for Katowice, and they allow you to know, really, or at least differentiate yourself amongst players. So it allows for better striation when, especially as we're looking at DreamHack Masters starting it back on up again. Of course, the qualifier dates for that have just been announced. ESL Open Cup or DreamHack Masters summer is going to be mid-June, I believe. So with that now being recently announced, these matchups matter even more. You get a couple more EPT points under your belt, and suddenly when you get out of qualifiers, well, you're seated maybe just a little bit higher. That being said, of course, I don't believe REYNOR has to qualify. He shouldn't. You know, he's the IEM Katowice world champion, for crying out loud. So I believe actually there's some number of seating going in there, but of course the qualifiers were just announced yesterday, so I'm not really sure. I believe they said something about that, but I have not seen much of it as of yet. So what do we have here on this map? This, of course, is one of our new maps. It is 2000 Atmospheres. We've had about 2.5 weeks of games on the map thus far, and it's turning out to be pretty cool. It is very reminiscent of an Eternal Empire, of a well, I'm blanking on the map name, but anyway, it's reminiscent of these larger maps that have kind of these 3 diagonal striations across the map that do make pushing just a little bit harder. Does make it possible to take a 4th base rather simply, but not in the way that Death Aura is, where it's just choked up to all hell, although this one is. That being said, there's just a little bit more avenues to attack on into things than on Death Aura, right? Because it's not quite as high ground into every spot, right? On Death Aura, you have the 4th base, and that's low ground to low ground, but it's not quite as pushable just because of how everything is enclosed and all the doodads there. This map, you can go an even ground position on into the 3rd base and on the 4th base, so that breaks it down just a little bit. We don't see quite as much turtle style on this map yet. Not to say it's not going to happen, but we're not there yet. But anyway, CLEM continuing to try to get as much damage done as he can. Looks like he got 1 Zergling and 1 Creep Tumor, which is already a fantastic bounty there for that Reaper, as he'll be able to go home and tell stories of glory to his comrades in the Hellions, because it will be Hellions on the way as of next. And CLEM opening things up a little bit spicily here. This game number 1 will open with an armory. So it's going to be Hellbats galore here for CLEM, as he's going to look to try to push through REYNOR before anything else, before the game gets really started in earnest. But of course, REYNOR, he is one of the better players at really dealing with this Hellbat style. If we notice, he's on 4 queens already. He's going up to 7, sure, but he goes up to 9 queens eventually in this game, or against most Terrans at the very least. And this allows him to deal with Hellion aggression on 2 sides of the map. And so that's interesting. It looks like there are 3 Marines in that medevac as well. So this is going to be a slightly more committed push, but not all that committed. Certainly something that REYNOR will be able to beat back. And we have 6 queens on the map here. Hellions are going to look to dive on forward. Queens are in position though, and the medevac is going to get immediately targeted down. Fantastic move there from CLEM. Yes, the Marines will get on out, but the queens and the Zerglings are going to be able to absolutely destroy this. Yes, none of the Hellions do go down, but most of them lose a significant amount of HP. The Marines are forced back home, and I don't know what CLEM was expecting to get there, but certainly the answer was not 0. That is all the answer that REYNOR did give him. So now REYNOR, behind this, he realizes that, yeah, most of my opponent's threat on the map is gone. I have not killed the Hellions, but they are all heavily damaged. I did kill a couple of them and the Marines are forced to go back home. There's no medevac with this as well, so it's not like they're going to be Hellbats. And with that being said, REYNOR, he is absolutely free to keep droning and droning and droning. Maybe take a 4th base, but with the Hellions on the map, that's going to be a little bit difficult for the time being. So now the Hellions are going to look to dive on in here, but look at that eBay block, or that Evo block, excuse me. So that's going to mean 2 dead Hellions and a 3rd one just about dying. And of course, the Liberator is going to try to siege on up, but, well, there's already a Spore in position. So CLEM, he's not getting anywhere near the amount of damage he's looking for here, as his eBays are just about done now. But I mean, REYNOR already has 1-1 on the way. He's going to be able to play a really solid defensive Zergling style over the course of this map. That being said, of course, Baneling Nest is only just now getting started. It is timed up with the lair, so Baneling speed will be on the way. The Baneling Nest will be done just about the same time the lair is, which means quick Baneling speed. But it did mean that REYNOR did cut some corners to make that hold happen. But he was happy with his queens. He had good scouting. He understood exactly what CLEM was going for, and he's going to be totally fine. That being said, though, this is interesting. CLEM is adding on more and more and more Hellions. Now, I don't know whether this is some attempt to go on into like a Hellbat style behind this, which is something we've seen a couple players start experimenting with, a little bit more innovation, to name at the very least one. Beyond likes to do it as well, but generally that's kind of been off of this blue flame Hellion idea into bio, sure, but it is a blue flame Hellion opening, and that is not what we see here from CLEM. I mean, it was a Hellbat opening, sure, you did commit to more mech units, quote unquote mech units, than you otherwise would, but we do have this push here on the other side of the map. It's a bunch of Hellbats, it's a bunch of Marines, and REYNOR seems to be caught a little bit off guard here. He doesn't have any Banelings on the map. Now he does, and they're gonna look to filter on forward. But the target fire, of course, that is something that CLEM is known for here. And the Banelings don't have speed, so they will kind of keep trying to go on in here. But that splits here from CLEM are fantastic. All the Banelings are gone, but it looks like most of the bio is gone as well. Meanwhile, Zergling run by on the other side of the map did kill 7 SCVs, so that was some equalizing damage. And the 4th base stayed alive. So as bad as that was looking for REYNOR, and it was not looking great, CLEM does not really get the damage he's looking for quite yet. All right, so we will have this drop coming on into the main base now. But REYNOR, he looks like he's on top of things. He does have an upgrade lead for just a little bit longer. That one Reaper will go down. Hellbat should die as well, even if it is Zerglings. Well, they're going to get the full surround, and that doesn't really matter. Although that is certainly a roasty toasty thing right there. The rally, though, is the important thing. If the Zerglings are going to get the surround, and yes, +1 is done, but there's just still too many Zerglings. So we will have this fight. It's going to try to keep getting something done here. As CLEM, well, there's one thing he's good at. Well, there are many things he's good at, but if there's one thing he's good at, it is his speed. He is probably one of the fastest Terran players playing the game right now, and we can absolutely see it in his style here. It's kind of crazy if you look at him. He feels like he's microing in 2 places at once at any given time. Of course, right now it's just a single drop, but other drops, of course, on the way, as this drop will be forced to get picked on up once again. But now REYNOR, he has stabilized just a little bit. He has 2-2 halfway done. He has his 5th base on the way. All of that is getting fired at just a little bit. We have more and more Banelings on the way here. Evo Chamber or Infestation Pit on the way as well. So that should mean that CLEM, or that REYNOR, is going to be able to get on into his Hydras, into his Lurkers rather quickly, because that's what this is. This has kind of been the predominant style. This is how the Lurker style has kind of evolved over the last month and a half, 2 months, pretty much since Katowice. Where no longer is it that kind of Hydraling Bane into Lurkers. It's a lot more now. Nice blitz there from REYNOR. Make sure he doesn't take any damage there from the Widow Mines. And yeah, there we go. The Banelings will be able to clean up the rest of this here. Well, Marines were dropped into CLEM, so as much as they try to drop 1 by 1 to draw Baneling shots, it doesn't really matter. Anyway, this style that we do see REYNOR going for, it's an evolution of kind of the Massling Bane into Ultra style that was so popular, I don't know, last year, 2 years ago, a little bit longer ago, because it's a very stable way of actually, making sure you get done what you need to get done, of getting on into your lair tech rather quickly, into your hive tech rather quickly, while still being defensive. So the Zergling's going to look spilling on in. That's not going to get all the connection that CLEM was looking for, though. Oh, those Baneling connections, though. But now I wonder whether REYNOR has committed just a little bit too far off. Fantastic target fire there from those Widow Mines. Most of the Banelings, well, a decent amount of the Banelings will go on down. A Queen will explode as well, and REYNOR does not have that big of an army, and CLEM does. So it feels like this 5th base may be about to get broken here, as now the Widow Mines actually, look at that unburrow micro. They're not even going down. And there we go. Though it does look like Reynor will be able to spill on forward, knock down this minefield, and force CLEM back to his side of the map. Of course, behind this, we do have a Lurker Den on the way. Hive is just about done. We're going to see probably 1-3 on the way as well. And, well, Reynor, he's just consolidating his position here on the map. His 5th base is now up. He's at 92 workers. He's got a lot of money, and he does need to spend it, but we are, of course, waiting for that Lurker Den to finish. That is what he is trying to bank a little bit of money here, but he does have to be careful that the push here from CLEM does not punish him for that bank, as, well, the Bailey shot, or excuse me, the Widowmine shot's not going to be all that effective quite yet, but there are definitely more where that came from. As Reynor taking that age-old approach of taking small engagements, right? He's not going to kind of sweep CLEM from the map here in one big fight, not yet, but it looks like, you know what, honestly, he's going to do that anyways, even as he does only move part of his army forward. The idea here is you take small trades over and over and over again, and in doing so, you kind of prevent the Terran from getting on top of the creep. Now, that's, that kind of happened, and then, of course, well, Reynor just kind of won the fight anyways. So now Reynor, he's in a decent spot here. His Lurkers don't have any upgrades yet. Actually, they don't have any upgrades on the way, but his Lurkers are just about done. And Clem's going to look to try to catch that before the Lurkers do complete. Banelings on top of the Widowmines are going to be fantastic there. So the Widowmines are not going to be all that effective. Now the Lurkers do burrow, and that will force Clem back. Now the Hydras were not able to knock down any of those medevacs, which is, of course, their goal, their only desire here in this game. Well, also killing Marines, killing Widowmines, all that fun stuff. But again, if they can knock down these medevacs, that's going to make life here for Reynor so much easier. But again, Reynor does not have seismic spines on the way. He does not have Lurker burrow, and with that being the case, I mean, that is a problem indeed. Lurker upgrades are what makes them an extremely viable composition. But Clem just kind of sitting there eating some shots. I guess he was trying to split against it, or maybe paying attention elsewhere to the run by on top of his 3rd base, or maybe this drop here on the other side of the map, but certainly not paying attention to the Lurkers. But now of course we do have seismic spines on the way now, as one Lurker will go on down as the Zergling run by on top of the 3rd base. It's going to get 3 workers, but it distracts Clem. It forces him back just a little bit, forces him to reallocate his attention. And with that being the case, well, that will allow Reynor to actually get a big counterattack coming on in now. Yes, the first one was thwarted, but not the second here. His Lurkers are going to look to burrow on up. More Hydras, more Lurkers, more Zerglings. The Hydras are going to kill the command center off, and Reynor, in a tour de force, is going to take game number 1. What a game there from the Italian Stallion. He held, and eventually it was Clem that was trying to hold on. Clem not able, he does not have the fingers of steel, the fingernails of steel that Reynor did in that game. And that meant that, unfortunately for Reynor fans, or unfortunately for Clem fans, fortunately for Reynor fans, well, Reynor took game number 1, but this is a best of 5, right? There are at least 2 more maps now, hopefully 4 more maps, as now we're going to get on into game number 2. It will, of course, be on Oxide. Actually, it's not, of course. You didn't know that, unless you took a look at spoilers, but we all know you wouldn't do that. As we're just about getting on into game number 2 here. Reynor's got that 1-0 lead. Oxide's the map. Reynor versus Clem is the matchup. Let's get on into game 2. Spawning in the upper right, of course, in the blue, the little corporal for Team Liquid. He is Clem. And his opponent in the bottom left in the red, representing Team Clash, the world champion, he is Reynor. So, as we have seen, actually, if you're not paying attention to things, Clem has been on a bit of a roll as of lately. He has gone and put himself at number 2 on the Illegal rankings. Now, Cyril is still number 1, despite the fact that Reynor's the world champion and routinely beats Cyril in big events. So I'm kind of surprised to see that. I mean, yes, Cyril is very good, don't get me wrong. And he gets a lot of viewers on Twitch too, which is fun. But I don't know. I don't know whether Cyril is truly the best player in the world right now. Clem has been looking good. Now, I don't know if he is truly the number 2 Terran, or the number 2 player, number 1 Terran in the world, because his TVZ is rather good. I mean, don't get me wrong. He can absolutely he regularly at this point does take a series off of Cyril and Reynor, but his other 2 matchups are not quite up to stuff, not to the nearly the same level. I mean, if he's going to play Maru, I know who I favor by a mile, and it's not Clem. And if he plays a TVP as well, I mean, he looked good against Zest. He's probably the only player that could have even held on in that game against Zest in IEM Katowice. Raynor upset that Clem is not rocking the Raynor portrait. Oh, that's just a little bit of little bit of narcissism right there, Raynor. Come on. How rude indeed that Clem, Raynor's dearest and closest rival. Well, maybe Cyril's that has that title as well. How rude that Clem does not rock the title of the portrait of his enemy. That being said, of course, these players are all, at least as far as I'm aware, pretty good friends. There we go, Clem saying, after this game, I'm going to rock the big gay Oh, spicy. So yeah, absolutely no shame in rocking the big gay portrait indeed, as Clem's going to hope to get a little bit more damage done in general in this game. Now, yes, it did look good, and Clem did have a rather strong push in game number 1, but he was already set a little bit behind. As strong as he did look in that game, his Hellbat push got literally nothing done. It got absolutely nothing done whatsoever, so he was already put himself a little bit far behind. Now, Clem not even going to try for something like that in this game. He understands that Oxide is an incredibly Terran favorite map in this matchup, so no need to try to do something a little bit crazy. It's just going to be stock solid Korean 3cc play. And I do, of course, say Korean because that does appear to be the meta amongst Terrans in TVZ in South Korea. That being said, of course, we have not seen a lot of TVZ in the GSL as of late. I guess we started to see more in the playoffs, but I don't know. It feels like we're getting less Zergs, at least out of Korea right now. I don't know. This is not a balanced observation, just a player density observation. I guess also we lost Sue to military, so maybe that has something to do with it. But anyway, Clem behind this, of course, getting those additional barracks, not rocking. Actually, is this a starport? Yeah, so this is kind of going to be kind of one of those 2-1-1 variations that TY has been a big fan of, where you don't do 2-1-1. You don't open with 2 barracks into a factory, into a starport, and hit it 430 on 2 bases. Instead, you hit it like 515. It's still a 2-1-1, and you still have stim. It's a little bit later, but you do have a 3rd base behind there. So it actually was really killing Zergs for just a little bit of time at the start of 2020 when it started to really become popular, because I mean, you can do 2-1-1 and still get a 3rd base. It was kind of messing with the minds of Zergs just a little bit. Their timing was not quite figured out, but Raynor, he's gonna get the scatter. He says, ah, I see stims researching. I see 2 barracks. I see the 3rd command center that's actually done now. I know what's up. I know what's happening here. I'm not all that worried. The other interesting thing of this, of course, is it's a 2-1-1, but it is still a couple Hellions. Now, Clem only got 2, and actually he's going to lose one of them and the Reaper as well. Nice trap there from Raynor. It is only, of course, only 2 Hellions, so this is not any sort of amount of Hellions that are looking to really do damage on the map, but what they are looking to do is just apply some map control. Do some scouting is the big thing that Clem is going to try to do here on the map. Now, Raynor, he does not have additional Zerglings on the way. You would kind of expect him to get on up to that like 30 Zergling count that you need to make sure you hold off the 2-1-1. Granted, that's the 430 2-1-1, not this one, but we will have 16 Marines on the map rather soon. 14 Marines on the map right now, so we're going to get on into 16. We're going to see that double drop heading on out here on the map for Clem. And, well, we're going to have to just see how powerful that is. So the drops now are on the way across the map here. And Raynor, okay, so it looks like he's got 20 Zerglings on the way just in the nick of time, and they will find the medevac. And of course, if they sit underneath the medevac, well, the medevac can't really unload, so it's going to be a much better trade here for Raynor, as he does have all 7 of his 9 queens out there on the map looking to defend, or I guess all 6 of the 9 queens on the map looking to defend against this pressure. So with 6 queens, with 30 odd Zerglings, this really should not get a whole lot damage done here for Clem. Now it will be able to delay the creep spreading out on the left-hand side, and that's something. But that is the least of Raynor's concerns here in this game. He has his 3rd base up. His 4th base is just about done, or halfway done. That being said, though, he did go into this command center, or he did go into this Ling Bane style once again, but his upgrades are very late. He will not have that upgrade lead that he did in the previous game to make use of. In fact, he's going to be at a significant upgrade deficit. Looked like there's going to be a 20-second timer for both +1 and assumedly for +2 where REYNOR will be behind. And that is always going to be a powerful thing there for CLEM to try to take advantage of, is now he's going to find a couple more queens. One queen did die from the pressure already. But that's going to be that. And look at this. CLEM, he's pulling no punches here in game number 2. He's a little bit annoyed that he lost game number 1, and this is Oxide. What better map to do it? Because he is going for an 8 racks here on this map. 3 barracks outside of the third base. Now, we're going to have to see whether this is like the CLEM patented 3 racks or 8 racks that he was killing people with, where he doesn't even get the add-ons on those 3 additional barracks, just trying to pump out Marines ASAP. Actually, maybe even sooner than possible. Of course, the 3 barracks, they're not quite done yet, so we're going to keep an eye on that, as Bailey speed is now done. We do have that. 1-1 is now done in 12 seconds, and well, upgrades are only just about halfway down here, but this Zergling counterattack is A, going to scout that this is an 8 racks. B, it's going to let it's going to get REYNOR to do some significant damage. That being said, we have a 4th base on the way, so it's 8 racks, but with a 4th here. And yes, REYNOR is doing tremendous damage indeed. Don't get me wrong, 12 workers have died. The 4th base is going to get canceled. There we go. But REYNOR will lose his 4th base here, and that is going to be a bit of a problem. That is interesting that he has that 8 rack, but also the 4th base on the way. Anyway, Banelings are going to look to come spilling on in, as this kind of has turned into a pseudo base trade, and I don't really know who this is better for. I think it's better for CLEM, as well, the Marines are going to be able to stem that off, kill off most of those Marines, even if the more SCVs do die, because now look at this. This sieged up position is going to be so hard for REYNOR to break. Not with the tank on the high ground, with the tank on the low ground. He's going to have to just make one real big move on in. He cannot afford to really siphon off anything on the exchange. Can't afford to lose those Banelings either, but more and more Banelings are on the way, and now we have the break coming on in, and it looks like, you know what? He's REYNOR. What am I even saying? Actually, I thought one of those tanks was on high ground. That's interesting. I really do think one of those tanks had been lifted on up into the high ground. But anyways, now we do have CLEM here on the right-hand side, realizing that REYNOR has expanded onto the other side of the map, and REYNOR, woefully out of position, is going to be forced back here. But of course, he says, why do I have to defend against what you're doing? I can just go and attack you instead. So that's what he's going to do. He will be able to break this 3rd base off once again, and well, CLEM does not have a 4th base on the way now. So that is just going to be about the economy here for CLEM, as the Banelings are going to come spilling on in. One tank's going to go down, but the second tank will not, as well, it will eventually, but not before it gets some juicy shots there on top of all of those Banelings. REYNOR and CLEM duking it out here in this game number 2. The 3rd base has been lifted once again. One of the barracks is burning. One has already been canceled. So CLEM rapidly, he was on 8 racks. He never really got there, but he had the plan to go on into 8 racks. Now he's been building off of 7 racks this entire time, and soon, well, maybe if he does not repair that, he will be on 6 barracks. Now, that being said, of course, REYNOR on the other side of the map, he is losing his 4th base for the 2nd time. That's not going to be all that great here. That being said, of course, with the rally of all of these Zerglings, the tank's going to go down, the rally's going to go on down, and it looks like REYNOR may have enough to deal with that, but no, not with the drop in the main base. That's what he really has to deal with, is he's losing more and more drones. But it looks like for the moment, CLEM's going to back up. He's going to recharge his up. Well, I mean, outside of these drops that are just never ending, because CLEM is insanely fast. But anyway, now with the queens popping back on up, it looks like these drops will be moved away, shoot away for the time being. So where do we stand now? REYNOR has a 4th base. He's not really mining from it. He's only on 61 workers. He's going to try to take a 5th base, though. Not if CLEM has anything to say about that. As now Zerglings are going to come spilling on in, and it is actually a better time to 2-2 for REYNOR than it will be for CLEM. So that's something that REYNOR does have in his favor. But again, the big deal, his economy is not nearly where it wants to be. And as this map is already rather Terran favored as it is with the short rush distance, this is becoming more and more difficult for REYNOR to hold. The queen is going to go down even. That being said, this creep spread is fantastic, but it's not really far enough to the right, not yet. So it's a little bit more difficult for REYNOR to really make this this hold happen, and he's just going to give it up. He says, okay, well, you're attacking me on the right-hand side. I guess I'm just going to expand on into the left-hand side. But again, it is REYNOR only on 4 bases at a 10-minute game. That's not exactly where you want to be, but look at this. This run by is against getting so much damage done. Zerglings are going to get on top of everything. The tank, the Marines, there are no medevacs here just yet. So Zerglings are actually going to take that fight rather well. The tank is going to go down. I think, no, it's going to survive on like 2 HP. That being said, 23 workers do go on down. And CLEM, his economy has taken a slobber knocker. Has taken a shellacking. There we go. That's the word. As he went from about 1,000 resources up to about 1,000 resources down. Just like that. But of course, with the tanks here around the doodads, it is now the third base of REYNOR that is under pressure, under fire, and that becomes rather difficult indeed because, yeah, REYNOR can afford to lose an outlying base, and maybe not a heartland one, not like this. So the banelings are going to try to come on in, but look at that target fire. All the banelings are going to go down, at least on the right-hand side. On the left-hand side, too, CLEM, that target fire is disgusting. Calm down. Of course, at the end of the day, though, what this means is REYNOR does not really have the army he needs to be able to fight this small marine force back, as it looks like a queen will, well, a queen's going to show up to help this in the short term. Banelings are now going to try to roll on in. That queen is not long for this world, as the target fire, once again, from CLEM is fantastic, and he finds himself on a 60 army supply lead all of a sudden. Well, I shouldn't say all of a sudden. It's been building over the course of this game. The drop on the left-hand side as well. CLEM is all over the place. The fourth base for REYNOR. He's going to lose it for like the fourth time this game. And as a Zerg, you can afford to lose your fourth base maybe once, maybe twice if you're real good and you're able to take good fights, but not 4 times. Here's now CLEM's going to stim on in. REYNOR running out of steam here in this game number 2, but with the tank sieged up in the line of sight blocker, that's going to be it. CLEM, he's going to equalize our series. And what a game there from CLEM. He fought on the left, he fought on the right, he fought on the left and the right. And now CLEM, he has bought himself new life into this series. He has taken game number 2. Game number 3 will be on Lightshade as soon as we get on into things. And Lightshade, that's another small map. We're going to have to see what exactly CLEM can make happen here on this map. As we do have the map loaded on up, it is ready to go. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, guys, gals, non-binary pals, we have game number 3. It's loaded on up. Let's go. Here we are, spawning in the bottom left, in the upper left, in the blue, of course, representing Team Liquid, and taking game number 2 in a tremendous display of skill. He is CLEM. And his opponent in the bottom right in the red, representing Clash Esports. He is REYNOR. And game number 2, while REYNOR did a good, decent job holding. Over time, the value that CLEM was able to earn in that game was insane. He was able to outtrade, and more importantly, he knocked down the fourth base of REYNOR like 4 or 5 times. And as I said in the last game, okay, sometimes it's okay to give up your third base. Sometimes as a Zerg player, that is something that you are willing to do. However, not really if you are not if you lose it 3-4 times. As again, we've seen some pretty cool DRG style, actually, when he was playing against, I want to say it was Innovation GSL Season 2 of last year, where there was one game in particular where Innovation was going for this massive push, and it was looking good for Innovation, and DRG just said, you know what, to hell with it, I'm not taking that base, I'm already going to expand elsewhere, I'm just going to give it up, I'm going to flow like water around the map, expand where you're not. And Innovation kind of spent the push. He killed the base, to be sure, but DRG already had another one on the way elsewhere, and that gave DRG just enough time to really build things back up and put himself in a really good position where he did end up winning the game later on, even if it did go against the conventional wisdom that does state that a Zerg that has lost his fourth base has lost the game. If we're talking about that timing where a Zerg is only on 4 bases, and we're not talking like the 7 base Zerg where they lose a fourth, what was originally the fourth base, and they expand elsewhere, it doesn't even matter because the base is close to mining out anyways. We're talking about that, 8-minute timing, that 7-minute timing where Zerg is just trying to get their fourth base and the Terran's doing whatever they can to stop it. Now, CLEM in this game, he's going back to his 1-1-1 shenanigans once again. We're not going to see a quick third command center. Well, we might, but I don't think so. Yeah, no, never mind. We might. That is still an opportunity as the quick third command center goes down at like 250. What am I saying? Never mind. It's going to be totally fine. But this Reaper's trying to get some damage done, and hey, you know what? Honestly, this Reaper from CLEM has been really effective over the last 2 games. He's got at least a Zergling every time. I don't believe he got a drone. He did not, but he did force a Spore Cancel, and another Zergling will go on down. So that's 50 minerals there for the Reaper, as it will not get the Creep Tumor, though. And I think most Zerg players would say they would rather lose the Zerglings than they would the Creep Tumor, right? Having that creep spreading early does allow you to get your creep spread more active on the map. It does allow you to connect your creep between your natural and your third base easier, which in turn makes it easier to defend against Hellions. all that fun stuff. But anyway, this will be 3 CC play once again off of a 1-1-1 opening here from Clem. So he's like, look, game number 2, maybe I suffered from a lot of run bys. That's true. That much is true. Maybe I was only off of 7 barracks instead of 8. Maybe I never really got a 4th base. But with this macro style, I was able to lean into REYNOR so heavily that he never really established his economy either. He never really established his tech. I mean, I guess REYNOR got it into +2, but no more than that. He never really established his tech either. Can I do that again? Of course, we will have some minor variations here. It will be Hellion Banshee behind this, so Clem's gonna look to maybe get a little bit more damage done. Maybe just a little bit. As do we have a reactor on that factory? Is it? Yeah, no, it's reactor factory. There we go. Double Hellions 2x2. It looks like there was a little bit of lag as well, as unfortunately Damaga, who of course I guess is a caster for Harbingers now, of course the former professional Zerg player. I guess he streams too. I don't really follow the Russians. Is he Russian? Is he Ukrainian? I don't really follow the CIS scene as much as such as it is all that much. But now the Hellions are going to try to dive on in here. We're going to see 2 workers go down immediately. One quick is a spore save. Honestly, I mean, REYNOR wants that anyways, as he will scout the tech lab on the starport, sees the researching cloak, so he already knows what is going to happen here. He knows that he needs a spore anyways, but hey, he's going to lose 2 workers, and that's more than Hellions usually get, to be totally honest. So Clem, he's going to be pretty happy with things, as he will get that second Banshee on the way, but it's going to be Hellbat Banshee here on Light Shade. It's not going to be your standard attack. In fact, wait, this is a late armory though. Huh. Very interesting style indeed we got coming on out here from Clem. Normally, like your Hellbat timings hit before 5 minutes. In fact, there are some Hellbat timings that hit before 4 minutes. TY has used that exact build to hit right at like 3:55, 4 minutes to kill Rogue on this map multiple times. But that's not what Clem is going for, as he is getting on his 2 additional barracks. He does have an armory on the way, but no E-base. All right, so this is going to be a Hellbat timing of some sort, but he may time this out with Stim and make that happen, as now the armory is done. And I don't think this gets timed out with Stim, but there we go. The Hellions are on the field. We have 12 of them. That is a lot of Hellions. The Banshees are going to cloak on up here. And while there is a detection in the mineral line, okay, never mind. We have a observer as well, but now the Hellbats are going to move on in here, and this is 12 Hellbats. This is a scary force indeed, as the Hellbats are going to try to find their way on top of these Queens. The Zerglings are going to get just about nothing done, as now the Banshees are adding their DPS as well. The Queens are going to look to target those down before anything else, because, well, actually, honestly, Banshees are more DPS. Hellbats are just kind of more of a tank soak, a damage soak anyways. But it looks like REYNOR once again will be able to fight this back. What did he lose though? That's the biggest question here. He is about 500 resources down at this point. He lost 3 Queens and 32 Zerglings, so that's non-zero. But he did not take any sort of crippling damage, and as powerful as that did look for Clem, I mean, it was 12 Hellions. I think that just kind of equalizes us, right? Because it is a commitment to go on into that armory that fast, get those Hellions that fast, do all that, and really overspend the Hellions. That means tanks are slower, that means Widow Mines are slower, all of these factory units that really as a Terran you want. So Clem, by being able to knock down about 450 resources of Queens, which is all at 9 drones, give or take, that's going to be rather nice for him. That is going to equalize things just a little bit, as we do have 1-1 on the way here for the Zerg and the Terran. These are going to be timed up just about even, unless there's just a really crisp timing that Clem's going to hit here. The timing differential really should not impact things all that much, as Clem, once again, he's got his push on going immediately. He understands how powerful of a pushing position this is. In fact, this is why REYNOR expands to this position first, is so he can attempt to get creep spread on the high ground if he can, but at the very least in this direction. So the push from Clem, or from any Terran, is not as powerful as it might otherwise be. It takes him a little bit longer to get on top of that base. But Baneling speed is now done in 9 seconds, so as long as REYNOR can hold, and he will, I mean, he has plenty of Queens, he has plenty of Zerglings, plenty of Banelings, as long as REYNOR can hold here, he's going to be pretty happy to be able to make that defense. So now we do have a 4th base on the way here for Clem. He's not going 8 racks with, well, you know what he is? He's just, of course, starting, well, yeah, it's just going to be 8 racks and a 4th base as well. But now we have the break attempt here coming on in from REYNOR. But with these Hellbats on top of the tanks, The tank's not going to go down, at least not for a while. Now more and more banelings are going to come crashing on in, but this tank is standing indomitable, and REYNOR is going to lose his entire army in the attempt. Queens are going to start to get targeted down as well. We have absolutely no banelings left here on the map, only 16 zerglings, and yes, REYNOR does have an economy, but that tank on the high ground with the Hellbat supporting it, CLEM was not, or REYNOR, excuse me, was not expecting that indeed. CLEM with the masterful plays is, yes, that one tank that is low was left far behind, so he did not lose it. Now we have 3 tanks here on the map. The Banshees have even been repaired to bring themselves across the map right now, and it's going to be a hard break here for REYNOR indeed. 1-1's not even done. I said the 1-1 versus 0-0 timing would most likely not matter. How wrong I was. CLEM hitting that timing perfectly, as yes, there is a Zergling run by on into the third base, but I am much more worried about the army run by on into the natural here that CLEM is getting set on up with these tanks firing strong. Yes, the Queens are going to try to do something about it, and yes, 1-1 is done here for REYNOR. But the Queens are rapidly running out of energy, and they're taking splash damage, of course, which makes it a little bit harder for them to get the heals that they do need, as the tanks are going to come firing strong against all of these banelings, and it is backs against the wall here for REYNOR as he is trying to hold. But now the Queens are under fire, and these upgrades do not complete. CLEM is going to stem on into the natural. Maybe that's a bait. Maybe REYNOR is saying, yeah, go on into the natural. Come on into my parlor, said the spider to the fly. But I worry that CLEM is both the spider and the fly, getting drawn on into the parlor, only to eat it as well. That analogy didn't work. But anyway, we do, of course, have CLEM. He's going to be finally beaten back here, but that's only because half of his rally will find this other 4th base there of REYNOR. All the drones will go on down. The base is now vulnerable, and CLEM, again, we talked about this, he is never just in any one spot. He's now going to find this third base. The tank is going to siege on up. How many banelings do we have? The answer is 6. 6 is not enough, as now CLEM, he's going to find his way on into the third base here. And okay, these extra couple medevacs are going to try to join. They should just get targeted down. And with the number of Queens here, and actually with the banelings, it looks like REYNOR will be able to hold for the time being. But it's funny, you look at this, you're like, wow, REYNOR, what a great hold. He's going to be able to barely beat his Terran opponent back, as he does lose his 4th, so bear that in mind. But that's always because, well, CLEM is not doing a constant push. He does not want to be victimized by some run-by rally cutoff, so instead he's moving out with these big armies. And if we look at the supply at the bottom of the screen, instead of the supply that we see on the screen, we're going to realize that CLEM is in a fantastic position. GG. CLEM, he's going to take game number 3, and put himself in a 2-1 lead. So CLEM looking absolutely dominant in those last 2 games, but game number 4 will be on Beckett, which I shouldn't say but game number 4, should say and game number 4 will be on Beckett, because Beckett, in all honesty, is probably one of the greatest maps that Terrans have ever seen. It's really good for them. It is just about it's about 3 screens and 28 seconds natural to natural. It's even closer for third bases, and it is just so dang pushable. Right, there are so many chokes, there are so many positions with destructible rocks that the Terran can just kind of hit this 2-base tank timing, and it's so hard for the Zerg to hold. But you know, if anyone can do it, it is in fact going to be our world champion. It's going to be REYNOR. So we're going to have to find out whether he is going to be able to do that, as we do have game number 4. It is loaded on up. Match point for CLEM. Let's see what he can do. Spawning in the upper right, in the blue trunks. Give it up for Liquid CLEM. And man, saying Liquid CLEM instead of just CLEM sounds weird. Anyway, in the bottom left, in the red for Clash, he is REYNOR. And as we mentioned, this is in fact Beckett Industries. It is an insane map. So let's take a look at things, right? If you take this third base, that is 1 screen, that is 2 screens, there we go, 3 screens, 2.5 screens between the pushing third that Terran goes for and the third that the Zerg takes. Now, if the Zerg takes this base, you're like, oh, okay, maybe that's a little bit better. 1, 2, 2.5. And actually, this one's even worse because of the doodads out here and with the speed zones that make you rally even faster. At least you kind of have the advantage of speed zones around this one to maybe get some flanks off if the Terran's kind of pushing onto this side or something. But with the doodads here, with the chokes, it is very hard indeed for the Zerg to play on this map. And in fact, I've seen even some games where they get to 3 bases and they take a 4th base. And DRG against Innovation, the World Team League, did this, for example, where he took this base and then Innovation said, ha, I'm gonna put tanks here and good luck. Now, granted, DRG took a fight he shouldn't have, but I mean, what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to take this as your fourth. That is probably the best option, actually, but that's 1, 2, 3 off of the pushing Terran third. And even then, the Terran probably is going to take this as their fourth base, and then good luck. Now, I'm not saying it's not impossible, but this is certainly an inauspicious start here for Reynor, strictly because of the map that he failed to ban out. I would actually love to see what map CLEM decided to ban, or what maps he didn't decide to ban, or Reynor, I guess. What map Reynor banned, because I can't imagine it. It's a worse map against CLEM than this one is. But we're just gonna have to see. Maybe Reynor has something planned on this map, where he's like, yeah, you know what? It's kind of hard to take a fourth base, but if I do a 3-base 1-1 Roach Max, A, CLEM's not going to be expecting that, because when was the last time I played Roaches? And B, well, maybe that actually does take this map's disadvantages and turn them into an advantage, because, well, it's a short rush distance, which means Roaches get across the map even faster. We might even see like a 34 drone Roach attack. The world is Reynor's oyster. What I do know, of course, is he is taking his third base a lot slower than most Zergs prefer to do. Generally, it's like 28 to 32 supply, but Reynor's already going on up to 36. He's not gone back into gas yet. He's only 1 out of 3 on gas, so it's not like it's going to be 2-base Muta. And this actually may be some Roach play coming on in from Reynor. Again, this is a very delayed third base, so we're gonna have to see exactly what. Yeah, that looks like a Roach drone. But no tech shown for Reynor just yet. No expand. Well, never mind. There's the expand. He was able to sneak it on out at like 39 supplies. The Reaper just doing a lot here, but the Reaper will be able to dive on into the main base. And the Queen. Oh, what a grenade! On, off, or off of creep on slow area. The Queen was not able to get close enough back in time, and that Reaper will stay alive. Saving Private Reaper indeed. What a play there from CLEM. That was really cool. So now it will be a Reaper Hellion Banshee on the way here from CLEM. It worked pretty well from him in game number 2. He was able to knock down a couple Queens, if nothing else. And I'm still kind of flummoxed at how late this third base is. Now, again, maybe it was just because the Reaper was being active and Reynor didn't have a drone on the map to make sure he was able to get his third base at a decent timing. But this still feels weird, right? Getting that third base as late as it is, especially when creep spread is so important on this map because of how pushable it is, it feels weird to take your third base that late because it makes it just that much harder to really get your creep pushing. We do have a Spire on the way, Baneling Nest on the way. And I guess, yeah, this is just Reynor. He's going to play a normal style just with a delayed third base, which delays his economy on a map where he honestly already needs it up as fast as possible, as powerful as possible to make sure that he is able to defend whatever pushes CLEM goes for. Maybe on a bigger map, you can get away with having a slightly slower economy because, well, the Terran's not going to push into you as fast, and that gives you a little bit more time to build it on up eventually before you get on into units. But 28 seconds natural to natural does not give you a whole lot of time to really do much here. To really sandbag things out all that much, as we do of course have more drones on the way, because this is just harassment, right? This is not an all-in, this is nothing like that. Now the Banshee though, there is no detection for the moment. We don't have, well, there's detection outside some of the mineral lines, but not all of them. And the lair is not done yet, but now the lair is done, which means we should see an Overseer on the way rather soon. And this Banshee's starting to get some sort of damage. 2 workers go down, but yeah, that's drips and drabs, right? That's not the most important damage whatsoever. As now the Hellions, I don't even mind seeing CLEM spend a scan there right outside of the speed zone, knock that creep down and really delay things, but he's not going to do that. He's going to say, okay, well, you know what? I'm just knocking down active creep tumors. That's going to be fine. My timing here is not a 2-base timing. I do have a third base just about done. Additional barracks on the way, 1-1 on the way, stims done, but my timing is not with the 2-base play. It's not going to be a tank push, at least not yet. I mean, there will be tanks on the map and he will eventually push with them, but it's not a 2-base tank push, which is kind of what I was expecting. But anyways, we talk about this game, we talk about the disadvantages the Zerg does face. The one thing that Reynor can be happy about is because this map is so small, he's able to very easily spread his creep on the other side of the map. Now, Reynor also is upgrades. He is going for upgraded Zerglings. No tech, not yet. So with that being said, I mean, his upgrades are late. especially compared to the Terrans here. His +1 armor is on the way. His +1 attack has not even been started. And yes, I understand he needs Bailings to defend against any sort of push. He needs Bailing speed as well. That's priority. But there's gonna be, we talked about that timing in game number 1 that Clem was able to hit. It's even going to be bigger this time, and it's not like Reynor's saving a lot of gas for Aspire. In fact, I really don't like Aspire on this map at all. It's just too small. It's like getting Spire on Submarine. Sometimes it works out, but in general, didn't feel all that great. Now, although that being said, though, Reynor, he's got his creep spread up. He has Bailing speed just about done. He has creep spread outside of the doodad, so it's going to be that much harder for Clem to push on in. He can't really just immediately siege up onto the 4th base. And you know what? Because of all this, Reynor, he's in a fairly decent position here, as now the Zerglings are going to find the counterattack as well, find the rally. One tank is going to get targeted down, and Clem is going to take this opportunity to start his push in earnest. But Bailing speed is now done, and that means it's not going to be all that impactful. I mean, this run by is getting a lot of damage done. Yes, not many SCVs are dying yet, as oh, look at this. Reynor's going to find the main base. What a move on in there. The walls are down, and therefore the Zerglings will play. And what this means, by the way, is not that Reynor is doing game-ending damage. I mean, he did damage, and that's nice. But what this means is the timing between 1-1 and 0-0 is not nearly as big as it otherwise would have been. And that's the story here of this move here from Reynor. Oh, Zerglings are... How does Reynor keep doing it? I mean, in my games, this just never happens. But the Zerglings find their way on into the main base once again. The rally will die once again. And yes, are many more SCVs going to go down? Not really. Not many Zerglings will survive that, but he has pulled Clem back once again. And this timing, by the way, that we were talking about, where Clem had 1-1, Reynor had 0-0, it is gone. +1 attack is done in 10 seconds. And Reynor will have upgrade leads on the 2-2, just slightly, but it will be there. So now the Zerglings going on into the flank here. Now the tank is not on the other side of that, so it's going to be a little bit difficult to get on in. And the Hellbats are here. That will, of course, buffer for just a little bit. But the tank is going to go down. Reynor will stay alive. And this push from Clem will be beaten back here with extreme prejudice. That being said, of course, the creep spread has been stalled. So Reynor, excuse me, will have to beat that back up once again. And you know what? I talked about upgrades. Well, Clem's going to have a 2-2 upgrade lead, even if he does not have a 1-2 upgrade lead, I guess is the way to say that. Because Reynor has forgotten his attack upgrades. He has the money for it. He has the Evo chamber. He just does not have the attention, I guess. I guess this is one of those things where maybe when he tried to do it, he was short on gas. But I mean, Reynor has a big bank. Is he short on larva? No, he's some larva. Yeah, Reynor's bank is large indeed. He started to realize that he does have a macro hatch on the way, but that is a solution for several minutes from now, not a solution for now. As Reynor, again, he's going to try to shark around on the map with this run by, but it says, look, okay, I've been seen. It's not really worthwhile. But what this does mean is maybe, just maybe, I can get, actually, he's not even going to do that. He's going to find the 3rd base. He's been victimizing the naturals for so long that Clem forgot about the 3rd. So 17 SCVs will go on down. And this is fantastic damage here for the red Zerg player. And now we're going to have to see whether Reynor can be able to beat this back. His run by is now on assault forces. It will find the army on in here, but it's not going to go for the engagement just yet. Reynor does not like that engagement just yet. And that being said, of course, the 4th base is under fire. It is a problem here for Reynor indeed. But the Banshees, look at this. This is why you keep your Banshees alive. Friends, this is why you keep your Banshees alive indeed. They can find value later on into the game as this massive run by is continuing to find value. 30 SCVs have died over the course of the last minute or so. And yes, Reynor will lose this 4th base, but he already does have a 4th base up and running. That being said, of course, the Zergling run by will eventually get beaten back. 10 drones do die. And we kind of reset here. Reynor, he's on 70 workers. He does not have +2 attack. It's on the way, but it's not anywhere near getting done. So Clem had the 1-2 lead, as that natural should not complete. Reynor, you got to cancel that one, bud. Reynor. Yeah, okay, you're just going to let it die. That's one way to spend your bank. Letting hatcheries die. But Reynor, he's feeling a lot more confident in this game. He does have an infestation pit on the way. He does have a mining 4th consistently, even if he did lose a decent amount of drones to those Banshees. That being said, of course, Clem does as well. Clem does have his 4th base up and running. It's not a planetary just yet, so it's going to be a little bit vulnerable for just a little bit longer. But I feel like planetaries are both more and less vulnerable than orbitals or just basic command centers. Because on the one hand, yes, they have additional armor. They have a gun that does splash damage. It's the only static defense in the game that actually does splash. But they can't move. And if lurkers siege them up, if 19, I think it's 21 banelings now after the baneling change actually, but if 21 banelings do roll on into it, there's not a whole lot they can do. So now the Zerglings and the banelings here from REYNOR are going to try to take this fight. He does have 2-2 now. That's the timing he was waiting for, and CLEM is going to be swept aside, as that is a lot of Zerglings, a lot of banelings, and now REYNOR, he's got a 20 army supply lead, and he has a worker lead as well. Not a lurker lead, not yet. Lurker den is not on the way. Actually, do we even have a Hydra den? We don't. So it's just going to be straight into Hive, and this may in fact be a Ultralisk style here from REYNOR in this game, as once again his 5th base will get denied. This time of course it will get canceled, so that's going to be better here. But REYNOR says, look, to hell with this. If you're going to attack me, I'm going to attack you too, as this massive amount of Zergling baneling will be run into a far less amount of defense here. So the Zerglings and banelings are going to come crashing on in. Are they going to be able to get the base? The banelings come crashing on in. They spend their lives, but they get the base. 7 workers die as well. So now CLEM, he's back on 3 bases, and REYNOR has spent his supply lead and turned it into an eco lead, but he does have to rebuild his army supply once again. He is now down 30. That being said, of course, CLEM, he only has +3. Attack on the way does not have +3 armor, and for the moment there is some upgrade parity indeed. So REYNOR, he's going to use that technique where he only takes part of an engagement, right? Only part of his army comes spilling on in until he has enough banelings to really confidently take the fight. So now if we look at economy here, REYNOR massively in the lead once again, even if he does not have a 5th base. He does have 4 bases. His opponent does not. And it actually looks like CLEM is just going to run his main base on over to his 4th, which makes it a little bit more vulnerable later on to Zergling run bys. Yeah, the base won't die, but all the SCVs will. So kind of a 6 one-way hat does the other here. Is now CLEM, he's splitting back through a speed zone. That is not really a fight that REYNOR wants to really take, but he says, I'm going to take it anyways. And we're going to have to see just how good that Widowmine shot is. The answer is not. That being said, we have run out of a lot of REYNOR, he's got burrow. Does CLEM see it? The baneling shot. What a play there from REYNOR. Fantastic moves as he gets the burrow off. So much of CLEM's army dies, and REYNOR, it feels like just barely. He has CLEM on the ropes. That this baneling shot, this baneling drop, this Widowmine drop is going to get some damage done. 8 workers do die. REYNOR, though, he's on 80 workers. He can afford to lose 8, rebuild those immediately. I am getting worried though, because he only is on 5 bases, and this is one of the problems on this map. The diagonal bases that we see untaken there by both CLEM and REYNOR are probably bases that the Zerg will never take. As this run by this drop, we'll try to get something done, and a lot better splits there for REYNOR this time. This is just so annoying. These Drilling Claw Widowmine drops are just so dang annoying. But anyways, the upper left base, the bottom right base on this map, call it the 4 o'clock, 10 o'clock bases. Realistically, it's going to be very difficult for the Zerg to ever take that, because it is so close to a base that the Terran wants to take, that this means that REYNOR is effectively tapped out on bases. So if this game does go longer without REYNOR really able to sweep CLEM from the map and actually kill him, it's going to look better and better for our Frenchman here. And now we do have, oh, that's a nice Widowmine shot indeed. And now CLEM, he's going to keep pressuring, because that's what he's got to do. He's not the best. Oh, these Zerglings will not get what they need. Oh, nice target fire there from that Widowmine. Doesn't have the drop. It's going to try to find its way on into the 3rd base, I think, of REYNOR, bypassing the natural, because honestly, mining in the natural at this point, 14 minutes in the game, not all that significant. But CLEM, he has battened down the hatches. He has realized that the reason this game is not over yet, or at the very least, the reason that he has really not gotten a ton of success on the other side of the map, is because REYNOR has been hitting him with these massive run-bys. So he has buttoned up the map just a little bit. He's enhanced his walls and making it so no one can really find his way on in. Once again, though, REYNOR has forgotten attack upgrades. He does have armor, and that's going to be rather nice for him, especially once Ultra Armor does complete now. But these banelings, these Zerglings are not going to be nearly as powerful as they otherwise would be, but it looks like that's just going to be just enough anyways for REYNOR to sweep CLEM here from the map. Because, well, it's a bunch of Ultras against a bunch of Marines. That's not ever going to work out all that well for our Terran player. But we do have one more Marauders on the way, and Liberators have now joined the field, which were one of the classic responses to this early style, especially when Ultras had that one additional armor that made them pretty much unkillable by Bio. It was Liberators that really allowed Terrans to win the game, but now we do have the siege coming on up here, and there is not a lot of anti-air. It's just a bunch of Queens, and Queens don't kill Liberators all that fast. But honestly, REYNOR says, look, I don't care. I'm going to come spilling on through anyways. That target fire, though, from those Widowmines, it is making it so difficult for REYNOR to really find his way on in. And yes, he has found this base, and he's going to knock down some SCVs, but he will be forced back once again. The Queens are pushing, though, and with the Queens coming on in here, the Ultras will not be able to stay alive, because Well, the queens are not there yet, and that means just a bunch of queens are going to go down. So REYNOR, he sensed blood. He saw blood in the water here, and he's like, wait a minute. What just happened? My ultras died, and that's, of course, because the queens were a little bit slow. They were off creep, and the creep was not quite far enough advanced there for REYNOR to really do what he wanted. So now CLEM does have his, call it 4 bases. It's 5th base location, but his main base is not mining anymore. He did lift that command center. He lifted that orbital. So CLEM here's on 4 bases. REYNOR is on 6. But it's going to be rather difficult for REYNOR to keep these outlying bases just considering how pushable they are. As one of my drops, you're going to find this outlying base, which, hey, one thing, it lets CLEM know that the outlying base is there. Number 2, it gets a decent amount of workers done. 8 workers will die. And unless REYNOR actively deals with that, well, he's not going to be able to, because these are, of course, cloaked widow mines. You can't just kind of stick the drones on them and say, yeah, it's going to be fine. Oh, this is disgusting push position too. Now, I do like this from REYNOR. He took this base really early on into the game. And what that means is that even if he does lose the base, he will have gotten most of the value from it. There are only 5 mineral patches instead of 8 at this point. Look at this though. Oh, part of the, oh, nice bailing shots actually. But part of the army here from REYNOR is marooned, as now Clem's going to try to make this push happen. He will not be able to do so though, as just enough army here from CLEM will find its way on in. But that is 5 widow mines in a terrifying field. The queens and drones are actually going to tank some of these widow mines, so that's going to be fine. But REYNOR, he's falling apart from a supply perspective just a little bit. Now he's down 50 army supply, and yeah, he's up 20 workers. But we're kind of at that point where there are enough command centers, enough orbitals on the map here for CLEM that he doesn't really care about his SCVs for mineral income. I mean, yes, REYNOR does have a lead, but CLEM's army is so gosh darn efficient at this point. REYNOR does not even have +3, but those burrowed widow mines, or those burrowed banelings, are going to have something to say about that indeed. But again, they're only +2. So these marauders will take almost 0 damage. These marines will take less damage than they otherwise would. And that doesn't feel all that great. It's actually, look at this. I thought those were transfer SCVs. Apparently they're not though. REYNOR though, he says, look, again, I don't want to take the fight against you. I want to take the fight against your economy. I want to take the fight against drips and drabs of your army. But this map is so small that CLEM can rapidly reposition to really deal with this, and that's a bit of a problem because, again, it's only +2 attack. These ultras and these zerglings don't fight nearly as powerful as they otherwise would. Now we do have a run by on into this 3rd base. Liberator though, sieging up on top of the 6th base from REYNOR, and the game is just falling apart for both players at this point. Games are getting crazy, and I love how we started to see Zerg players use this burrow more and more and more. It's actually really cool. What they do is, you know, they just burrow, they do run bys, and then they burrow on into the mineral line on the assumption that the Terran is not going to know they need a scan. They're like, okay, well, I'm not taking damage, I'm going to be fine. Which, if you're not CLEM, that's what you see. But fortunately for us, unfortunately for REYNOR, CLEM is made of sterner stuff. He is able to see that. Although it looks like he didn't get all of the Zerglings, so that is something. Because again, a lot of the times you see the army just kind of shift queued on in like that, and the Terran's not going to think to go on in and scan because they'll have assumed that they have killed the army and they've killed the run by. So now this base will get taken on down here, but it only has 4 mining mineral patches at this point. We have an infestor out though. Do we have infestor energy? We don't. How many infestors were made? Only the 1. So I don't know whether that was a misclick or what, but oh, this run by here. I don't even think we have the base that's supposed to be there yet. I don't believe that base was killed. Yeah, it was only the 1. So it was just a bunch of widow mines. It was just bait. It was absolutely a bait there from CLEM. I see a bunch of widow mines and a bunch of bio, but no base. He said, look, I know you're going to try to run by that base. I'm going to kill off a lot of your Zerglings. And now CLEM is in a fantastic pushing position indeed, but so is REYNOR with his run bys. He is eviscerating the economy here of our Frenchmen, and it really is down to armies. And man, if I'm REYNOR, that one does not make me happy, as REYNOR now half the army supply of CLEM, and CLEM, he's just been trading too gosh darn efficient. It is 43k to 28k. That is a 15,000 resource differential here. And now, yes, we'll see REYNOR maybe beat CLEM back once again, but I mean, CLEM, excuse me, has a fantastic position to push back into. The queens have run out of energy, so these ultras are not long for this world. It's just a bunch of marauders, and they have stim. They have an additional attack upgrade over the army here of REYNOR, and I really do think that is the big deal in this game. Traditionally, 2-2 versus 3-3 is the break point there where Zergs kind of start to lose, and that's going to be a GG. CLEM, he's going to take game number 4 and probably the best game of the series.